and welcome to episode 25 of The Lit Gals. I am Martie Hoosier, Digital Content Manager for Keep Indiana Learning, and we are happy to have you here today as we wrap up season 3. So we'll take a short summer hiatus to read and do other things. But read. And then we'll be back in the fall/August, which is really not fall, but that's a whole separate conversation. So I'm glad to be here with my friends, Morgan and Anna. So Morgan, why don't you tell us who you are and a little about yourself?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you both for inviting me to join you this season. It's been so much fun. I hope I get invited back for next season. Yes. I'm Morgan Mason. I am one of the professional learning specialists at Keep Indiana Learning. And I've just really enjoyed these conversations. It's been so much fun.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Anna Cook, and I am a literacy specialist, just spreading joy and cheer throughout Indiana and Illinois on wonderful literacy instruction and helping teachers teach our kids.
Love it.
So, yeah.
So I love our theme today. And I can't believe we've never done it before.
I know.
Just feels weird. So this month, we are talking about Indiana connections and all things Hoosier as it relates to books. And I just can't believe, we're Keep Indiana Learning. You would have thought this would have been a topic we would have done before.
And, Martie, it's so funny that you should say that, because when we came up with this great idea, my love for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and anything and everything racing.
Yep.
And the first thing that came to my mind is I thought, I am going to get all of these race car books. I'm going to get racing legends. I'm going to have a stack. It'll far surpass Martie Hoofer's stack of books. It's going to be unbelievable.
It's hard to do.
And I know. And so anyways, I started looking online. There really wasn't anything. Libby, not anything. I went to the library, and there was a whopping 2 books that was published back in the 1990s something. And I was like, what? I was very surprised.
Yeah.
I was very surprised and quite disappointed. In fact, I looked all around at first and asked the librarian, where's your Indy 500 section, with all the book display? Right. And she looked at me and went, no. Isn't that surprising, you guys?
Yes. Because I think about in the month of, so I taught very near the Speedway, and I used to take my classes outside in May, as teachers do, and we could hear the cars on the track. Now, that should have been a trigger to me to find some stuff for these kiddos to read about it, but I didn't. But so now, that tells me all I would have found was newspaper articles, and that's not necessarily the way to grab kids.
Yeah. And a lot of the books were the 100th anniversary of the track, and 50 years in the whatever. I was just very, very surprised, you guys. Very surprised.
So if anybody watching this show then decides to write a book about the 500, give us credit, send us a copy. We'll gladly talk about it.
Ooh, I'd love that. Yes, please.
Yeah. So what did you find, Anna?
Well, okay. So here I was wandering around for 500 books, couldn't find them. So the librarian over at the Indianapolis Public Library, I think that he felt very sorry for me. So he started coming up with lots of different offers.
He was trying to stretch.
He probably saw the look on my face oh my gosh, what do I do? And I've got to tell you something. I really struck gold. The first one is an adult read, and it is called The Less People Know About Us. It is from a lady named Axton Betts Hamilton. She is from Portland, Indiana. She went to Purdue, and then she got her doctorate in different sociological and psychological studies. And she now teaches at South Dakota State University. But this is an actual true story about stolen identity families. It said that she grew up in a quiet town in Indiana in the early 90s. She was 11. Her parents' identities were stolen. Over the next 20 years, their credit was ruined, money went missing from their bank accounts, and they fought constantly over finances. They changed their personal information and redirected their mail to post office boxes in multiple nearby towns. This is so good. I mean, I'm still reading it, but wow, this is really, really good.
Wow.
And like I said, she now is like one of the foremost authorities on identity theft.
Huh.
Isn't
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And that's an actual picture of her mom and her.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So, I love that. But the librarian found it for me because once again, I had that panicked look on my face. I mean,
I'm going to add that one to my list. It sounds, you know, that whole true crime kind of vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, this was another thing too, you know, you always, you know, Booth Tarkington, you know, Kurt Vonnegut, things like, and I was like, oh no, I want somebody from just recent.
Yeah.
And this was one of them. Another one, and I think I've one-upped Martie because I don't think she's got this, but I'm sure that you've read it. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So, oh yeah. So the librarian was telling me about him. His name is Mike Mullen, and he's from Indianapolis.
Yep.
And his wife is a librarian.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And in this book, it's all set in Indianapolis. And he mentions numerous public libraries here in Indy, like the Decatur branch. And I think that he mentions the Pike branch. But how fun is that? And he is very accomplished. He's written other books. Yeah. One is called, well, this one, Surface Tension, is his fourth novel. And Ashfall is another one. But more importantly, he has won NPR's top 5 YA novels. Wow. ABA's New Voices selection. Best Book for Children selection by ABC. I mean, this guy is huge. Yeah.
And that book, it would be great for any middle school, high school reader that wants something that sucks them in and moves at a breakneck pace. It is such a fantastic read. It was one of my COVID reads and loved it. Loved it.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm glad you don't have this one to share. But because I was sweating bullets, I was like, oh, I'm sure she's got this one. I'm sure. But anyway, I mean, once again, the librarian through my panic. Through my panic face, he came up with this one as well. And I guess this is fabulous.
Yeah. Well, funny. The next book I was going to show goes along with that cover being nice and orange. It's called Wink by Rob Harrell. And if I'm not mistaken, Rob lives in Zionsville, so just not far from here. And this is one of the best middle school reads I have. It's based loosely on his own experience, but it says here on the front, surviving middle school with one eye open, because the main character has a medical situation with his eye. And so you know what it's like in middle school to be like odd man out. Yeah. So it's such a fun read. So the setting is here in Indiana. And I've talked to Rob Harrell, the author, and it is set in, when I told him, I'm like, when I read that book, I felt like I was in Bloomington. And I'm not really sure the book ever says Bloomington, but I'm like, that's where it was in my head. And he's like, yeah, it was. Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it's a super fun read. And if I'm not mistaken, Rob has another book coming out soon, which is always fun. But I can't think of Indiana books without thinking about John Green. Just can't do it. The Fault in Our Stars, set right here in Indianapolis. When they talk about going to the Speedway gas station, it's at 86th and Ditch. So I don't drive past it without thinking about John Green. This book also set here in Indianapolis. This one was actually a movie, just came out.
Really? I didn't know that.
HBO Max, Showtime Max, I don't know, something that ends in Max. Told you all I know. So I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's great. But I wanted to read
Fault in Our Stars. I'm going to have to check out that movie.
Yeah. If you like Fault in Our Stars, because I honestly like this book more than The Fault in Our Stars.
Oh,
I do.
Okay.
I do. I feel like it's got richer characters and a little less predictable of a plot. I really enjoyed. This is probably my favorite John Green book.
Okay, this is one I haven't read, so I'm excited to add it to my list.
Yeah,
so good. But I love the opening line. For the third time. At the time I first realized I might be fictional, my weekdays were spent at a publicly funded institution on the north side of Indianapolis called White River High School, where I was required to eat lunch at a particular time between 12:37 p.m. and 1:14 p.m. by forces so much larger than myself that I couldn't even begin to identify them. And there's no White River High School, but there are plenty of high schools on the north side of Indianapolis. We all understand those school weird times where they force us to eat lunch in these tiny little
such a small amount of time.
12:37 to 1:14, So I love the opening line. So that's us. Read this one. Okay, so Anna, this one I'm going to show I read either right before or right after Surface Tension. This was also a COVID read.
Okay.
Attucks. About the first Black team to win the state championship.
Wow.
You'll learn a lot, and it's also very heartbreaking the way we treated these boys. So it's
who wrote it or who?
Oh, great. Philip Hoose, Hoose.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's won numerous awards. I looked at his website today. He has lots of other books that I've never heard of. So this is narrative nonfiction, reads pretty easy, and it's filled with pictures. So if you can't make it down to the Crispus Attucks High School to see the pictures yourself, you can see them in the book. And it's so good. And equal opportunity here. Graphic novel called
I love it.
I know. I did it just for you. Graphic novel. This one is a fictional book based on a true story. The true story is the Warsaw girls team, like late 70s. I don't remember the exact year. Who won the first girls state championship and their journey to get there. And it is so very good. So thoroughly enjoyed hoops. Matt Tavares is the author of this one. So you couldn't have Indiana Connection books without talking about basketball.
Well, and especially since we've got Caitlin Clark now.
And our Pacers are doing so well.
Yes. Didn't even think about those connections. Yes.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Would it be? For middle school or 5th, 6th grade? What grade?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Both of these easily middle school.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Turtles, no. Turtles is a high school book. John firmly writes high school. But Wink and these two, all middle school. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So Morgan, what did you find? I love the variety of things we're finding.
Well, I'll take us in a totally different direction and share some books that I am reading with my toddler right now. This has been a classic since he was, just a few months old. We've been reading this. It's called Night Night, Indiana. I think I was gifted this at my baby shower, but I love this book because it has Indiana landmarks in it. Like the whole book, it has the Children's Museum, it has Holiday World, it talks about Mass Ave at one point. Like it's a really cool, cute little bedtime rhyme. And it's funny because as he's gotten older, he's about 2.5 now, he's recognizing, like, we've been to the zoo now, we've been to the Children's Museum. And so he's like, he's not saying like, oh, I remember that, but he's making those connections. And I'm like, remember we saw the dinosaur bones at the Children's Museum, like all those connections. So that's just a fun little one.
I love that.
Moms in Indiana. And then the other one is, I am originally from Fort Wayne, and I was telling the ladies before we started that there's a big Johnny Appleseed festival in Fort Wayne every summer, summer, early fall. And so we also got this Johnny Appleseed gift. I think this was another baby shower gift, but Johnny Appleseed died somewhere around Indiana. They think that it's somewhere near Fort Wayne. So just another fun little connection to Indiana and learning about Johnny Appleseed and his journey. So if you haven't been to the Johnny Appleseed Festival too, it's very fun.
I was going to say, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, a lot of good food, a lot of you can buy knickknacks, homemade gifts, all that fun stuff. Lots to do for kids too. So definitely check it out. And then I didn't bring this book. I have it. I thought of this as we were talking. I don't know if either of you guys are into the Crime Junkies podcast, but Crime Junkies, the host of that, Ashley Flowers, she is actually from Indiana. She's from Indianapolis. She still lives here in Indianapolis with her family, and she wrote a murder mystery. And you know how I love my murder mysteries. It's called All Good People Here. And I want to say I read it probably a year and a half ago, is when she released it, and she's getting ready to release another one. So that's another Indiana connection. She's a great podcast host, but she's a fantastic writer too. And I think it's because she has that lens of like all these true crime and solving all these mysteries. So she gives a really cool perspective as an author.
So are her books fiction?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what makes it fun too, is that she's creating now fiction stories just based on all of the things she's experienced through her podcast world.
And that one's called All Good People Here.
Yes. Great read. It's one of those that just catches you right away. And I think I read it in like a day because I just couldn't put it down.
That's good.
Awesome. Well, now I have 2 books added to my list. The Less People Know About Us and All Good People Here. Apparently I'm going to go on a crime spree, apparently.
Yeah.
And perfect timing since we're about to take our little hiatus.
That is true. So for the last time for a couple of months, Anna, what are you reading or listening to, or both these days?
Well, I just got finished speaking in Baltimore, Maryland, at their big state conference that they've got there. And I was so lucky to meet and listen to Natalie Wexler. She's just phenomenal. And after listening to her, I needed to get this book, The Knowledge Gap. And just to read and to see what else she has to say about this. It's very, very concerning to all of us. And I think that there's not one golden ticket or silver bullet or anything like that. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. And she really does address that.
Yeah.
No.
So I've read that book, and it's sitting right over there on my shelf. And Anna, I agree with you. I think that's what that book points out, is there's not one answer to this large problem we have. Yeah.
And I think that it takes a lot of different people, viewpoints, thoughts, and not just one.
Yeah. I've recommended that book to a lot of people when they feel so caught up in, oh, this is the one way we're being told to do it. And I'm like, oh no, let's think about this in a lot of ways. Yeah, that's a great read. Something I always am coming back to, I feel like.
Yeah.
So Morgan, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm always reading and listening to a book. So I am reading, it's called 20 Years Later, and I'm blanking on the author's name right now, but it's another murder mystery. I left it next to my bed this morning, so I did not bring that one with me either. But it is, I like this one. I'm about halfway through it. I like it because so there's this murder investigation going on, and then the person that's the main suspect in the investigation, she dies in 9/11. She's in the tower with her. It's fictional, but she's in the tower with her lawyer when it all goes down. And so the last thing she does is call and leave a message for her sister saying, I did not do this. You have to prove that I did not do this. And then she dies. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a good one. So then it's like going back and forth between like the past, what happened, and then now 20 years later, they're still trying to figure out what's happening. So that's a good one so far. And then I'm listening to Lessons in Chemistry. That also just came out as a show, but I wanted to read the book first before I watched the show. I just started listening to that. Like I want to say I'm like 4% done. So just getting into that one, but so far so good. It's piquing my interest.
Is it a pretty good listen to?
Yes.
Okay.
Because sometimes
I saw the show. I saw the show and I wondered what kind of read it would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So far I'm impressed. I can keep you posted as I get further in.
Okay.
Yeah. Martie,
that's not. Okay, so I am not normally one who picks up the latest, hottest thing. I get a little bit book snobbish. I'm like, that's not for me. No, thank you. However, an online book club I'm in is reading what is a very hot read right now. Kristen Hanna's The Women. And so I was like, well, Martie, guess you will read the latest current read. And I'm just over halfway through.
Whoa.
And if I had my way, this is all I would do for the next 2 days is sit and finish this book.
Really?
I've never read Kristen Hanna before. This will not be the last book of hers I read. It is.
I know which one you're reading next. We'll
talk
about this.
What am I reading next?
The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. It's my favorite book I've ever read in my entire life.
Oh. Okay. You're the second person today to recommend that book to me.
It's amazing. And it's going to be a movie too. I want to say next year.
Okay.
What's this one about?
This one is about, it's called The Women. It's basically about one main character. She's a nurse who goes to Vietnam. And Frankie has my heart. And I just want to know where her story goes. She'll be a character that sticks with me for a long, long time.
That's when it's a good read.
Yeah. And even though I would call this one a plot-driven story, it's got really rich characters. Like you care deeply about Frankie and then her two best friends that she meets in Vietnam. And I don't know if there's going to be other women, but I mean, that's really kind of the only three women in this book, and her mom, but her mom's a super minor character. So I'm loving it. The fact I've gotten any work done over the last couple days is amazing because I just want to hang out in this book. It's fantastic.
That's good.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Good.
So there we go. Well, we are at the end of our time, the end of season 3, episode 25. What a fantastic ride this season has been. Morgan, I'm so glad you joined us.
Me too. Thank you, guys.
Very, very glad. Yeah.
All right. Well, viewers, we will be back later in the fall. Stay tuned. And as always, we will put the list of books we shared in the show notes. So viewers, we appreciate you. Happy reading this summer. And I will end with our closing line. Be well.
Do good work.
And always keep in touch. Thank you, guys.
Happy reading.